We have experienced Air Canada's premium economy several times in the past. Today, however, no passport is required, as we'll check out this elevated service on a domestic flight. We'll unpack this mid-tier product to see what it has to offer. Is it the same as its international counterpart, or will any difference leave you wanting more? Come along and let's find out. Good morning and welcome back to another video, and welcome to beautiful British Columbia. Today we're going to be flying with Air Canada and their domestic premium economy product. Now, premium economy is fairly common in the international world, but domestically speaking, I would say it's maybe the least common type of seat you can find. Number one, you need an aircraft that has at least 3 classes. And number two, you need a country that is large enough that can justify that added class. Today we're going to fly from Vancouver to Toronto, so that'll give us ample time to see how Air Canada does the domestic premium economy seat. More importantly, I want to see how it compares to their domestic business class product. Is there any benefit to this kind of mid-tier class? The flight is set to depart at 12:35, so come along as we go from A to B, and let's head over to Toronto. Premium economy passengers are able to use a highly sought-after priority lanes for check-in and baggage drop-off. But since this is a continuation of my trip from Tokyo, which I arrived earlier, I simply popped my head out to get some fresh air. It smelled like a skunk actually was kicking around, filmed the intro, and headed right back in. On the way to the gate, we passed by the Maple Leaf Lounge. It's not complimentary, but can be purchased for $49. If I had 2 or more hours to kill, you'd probably find me in there. A few minutes later, we reach the gate, and we see our Dreamliner, which will take us 3 more hours into the future. But first, coffee. Alright, so we're at gate 47 today, but since this is my second morning of the day, I need a double-double before I do anything else. And apparently by C32, there's Tim Hortons. Alright, so my first double-double in 6 months. Oh, that is heaven, especially after an 8.5 hour flight. Surprisingly, there is no Tim Hortons in Japan. There is one in Singapore. So they do exist in Asia, just not Japan yet, unfortunately. Ooh, it's hot. One double-double down, and it's time to board. And so as I make my way to the plane, I'll take this moment to welcome new viewers to the channel, and I invite you to subscribe for continued aviation and travel-related content, where you can check out airlines like Zip Air, a budget carrier out of Tokyo, which provides a cheap way to reach Asia from several places in North America, including Vancouver. Upon boarding, you'll see there's no pillows nor blankets, as this is not a nighttime flight, nor is there an amenity kit. For domestic premium economy, you'll only find a water bottle at your seat. We will once again be seated in 14A, the last row of premium economy. Funny enough, on my flight back to Tokyo 6 weeks later, I found myself once again with the same seat assignment. We are on one of Air Canada's 787-9 Dreamliners. They have one layout for this plane, configured with 298 seats across 3 classes. Premium economy has 21 seats in rows 12 through 14, with a seat pitch of 38 inches and a width of 31. Seat recline is 2 inches more than economy, but honestly, it feels much more than that. Our aircraft is just about 7.5 years old, being delivered to the airline in 2017. Only Air Canada's wide-body fleet, like we're on today, is configured with a premium economy. In addition to the Dreamliners, only the 777s and the A330 provide this mid-tier section, seating either 21 or 24 passengers. It's going to be a rather quick flight this afternoon, reaching Toronto in 3 hours and 50 minutes. Shortly after getting airborne, the service commenced with a warm oshibori and the bar service, and I went with the standard gin tonic to go with the snacks. In the meantime, the meal was being prepared. A few days earlier, I got an email inviting me to choose my in-flight meal, with the options being the chicken teriyaki or the gnocchi. And I put it up to a vote on my Instagram page, where you guys decided overwhelmingly that I should go with the teriyaki chicken. Good call. I felt this meal really had items that were well done and others where a review wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's start with the salad. The good is the pickled cauliflower, acidic, salty, spot on. The bad are the Brussels sprouts. They were dry, tough. I want to say woody, maybe fibrous, very difficult to chew, and no amount of olive oil or dressing was going to save it. For the main meal, the good was the chicken, fried nicely, tender, crisp, very enjoyable. Teriyaki sauce was okay, a bit on the salty side, but that's perhaps because it isn't uniformly coating the chicken. The broccoli, as you can see, was overcooked, but surprisingly tasted alright. And to finish off was the blueberry cheesecake, which, well, how can you go wrong with cheesecake? Could have easily gone for seconds. Oh, and question by the way, should cheesecake be baked? Let us know in the comments. There was one element missing from the meal, which was the bun. They either forgot it or they weren't stocked on board. Not mission critical, but noticeable, especially when only the butter remains. This was a good meal with delicious flavors, but also with inconsistencies. I think Air Canada should work on the weaker elements to ensure a more pleasing meal as a whole, and thus an increased guest experience. One thing I did like, which I rarely see on international premium economy, is a coffee or tea offered after the service. So, a coffee Bailey's is how we round out this late lunch. Here's a look at the lavatory between the premium economy and business class. On the flight over from Tokyo, it was nighttime, but now we get to see what it looks like during the day. It would help if some passengers could use the washroom like normal people and put the garbage in the bin. It shouldn't be that hard. When it comes to entertainment on board, things are done a bit differently domestically compared to international flights. For starters, Wi-Fi is complimentary for Aeroplan members, but can also be purchased for a reasonable price. Also, the IFE system has the live TV enabled and offers a few channels which, depending on the day, may be worth watching. Air Canada uses the same planes for international and domestic flights, so the hard product is the same as we've seen before, providing 38 inches of seat pitch in premium economy. After experiencing various seats in this cabin, I would avoid the bulkhead row simply since all the bags have to be above for taxi takeoff and landing, and there's less features with it lacking a seat back. I found the last row provided the best experience. The seat and space it provides is very similar to the business class found on the single aisle fleet, as those planes lack the lie-flat business class pods found on these aircraft. Air Canada's introduction of the A321 XLR in 2026 will change things up a bit, as that'll be the first narrow-body plane to have the lie-flat seats. An hour before landing, and there's the second service, which consisted of the drink cart and the snack basket, which had a variety of complimentary snacks which would otherwise be available for purchase in economy. And not too long after, we start to make our descent into Toronto. Having flown both domestic premium and business many times, I find that the domestic premium economy onboard experience is very similar to the business class on the narrow-body jets. The seats are similar, you get the oshibori, the warm meal, snacks and drinks, it's all part of the package. The only big difference I noted from the whole experience is that lounge access is not included. I should highlight that domestic business on the wide bodies is much more different, and the level of service between the two classes is apparent. One thing that is brought up in the comments on occasion is the inconsistent experience from the crew. I generally have positive impressions from the crew, and for the most part they appear dedicated and hardworking. However, flying 2 consecutive premium economy flights, I found the staff a lot more attentive on this flight. They confirmed my meal selection before we departed, they came around with coffee or tea after the meal, and they checked on passengers routinely. Menu items change with some degree of frequency, and I think it would be beneficial for Air Canada to use feedback to improve their menu offerings. It's not that the meal we had on this flight was all bad, but inconsistencies are apparent. Missing one part of the meal isn't the end of the world, though communicating to passengers about this would be the correct approach. One good thing about these domestic flights too is that they don't automatically dim the windows, which is something unfortunately done on international routes, which I don't really agree with. Premium economy is much cheaper than business in both terms of ticket price or upgrading with e-ups, cash, or points, and it may appeal to individuals who see value in a bit of extra space and a warm meal. For me, the longer the flight, the more appealing it becomes. This was part of my round-trip ticket from Tokyo to Toronto, and the price came out to $1,794, which was a great deal considering that one leg, consisting of 2 flights, was booked in premium economy. We offset 300 kilograms of carbon for this leg of the trip, and total carbon offsets can be found on the About page of the channel. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Air Canada's domestic premium economy product, and I'll catch you in the next video.